With 22 races completed and a world champion crowned, it's time to evaluate the drivers' accomplishments in the 2022 Formula One season. We grade the 20-strong grid out of 10 based on each qualifying and race, with drivers arranged from the lowest to the highest rating. Who receives the highest marks? And in terms of Norris's ratings, will he become the captain's best driver? Stay tuned as we go over our list. Starting us off, we have Nicholas Latifi, 4.55, and Daniel Ricciardo, 5.68. Nicholas Latifi is first on this list. The Canadian had high expectations for 2022 with new partner Alex Albon after a strong 2021 finish. Latifi had several high-profile blunders in the first half of the season, showing that he could not adjust to the new ground effect vehicles, as well as the Williams car's lack of downforce. Williams decided to replace him with Logan Sargent for F1 2023 due to his mistakes and lack of speed. After making a brilliant tactical decision in Japan, he scored points, giving him his best season rating. Nicholas would receive a D in the TG rating with a 4.55 rating, placing him near Daniel Ricciardo, who has a 5.68 rating. Well, another driver that won't be on the starting lineup in 2023 is this one. Ricciardo, who finished an incredible 85 points behind McLaren teammate Lando Norris in the final F1 standings, was easily the second worst driver this season. Although he occasionally achieved notable results, finishing 5th in Singapore and 8th in Mexico, these successes were primarily the product of wise strategy choices made by McLaren, rather than his exceptional pace.
Moving on, we have Mick Schumacher and Yuki Tsunoda, who have ratings that are only 0.1 apart.
Mick Schumacher also lacked a ride for 2023 when Haas selected Nico Hülkenberg in his place. Schumacher's series of crashes in the first half of the year and his inability to get the most out of the Haas during its most competitive period proved to be his downfall. These highs were few and far between, even if he consistently outperformed Kevin Magnussen in the second half of the season. He shone at the Austrian Grand Prix with a solid drive to the points. Even so, with a rating of 6.00, he was unqualified to fill the position in the following season, which went to Yuki, who was rated 6.10. In 2022, Yuki Tsunoda saw a consistent pace of improvement. The AlphaTauri driver may not deserve to rank 4th on our list, given his progress this year, but he deserves a 3rd season with Red Bull's youth team. At Imola, where he came in 6th, Tsunoda had his best weekend.
Following that, Zhou Guanyu, 6.14, and Lance Stroll, 6.23.
Guan Yu, the sole rookie in F1 this year, has been decent but not remarkable. He is doing enough to keep his spot in the team for next season, if barely, considering Valtteri Bottas's higher point total. Everyone was relieved to hear that the Chinese driver had survived the big shunt at Silverstone. In contrast to Guan Yu, Lance Stroll's Achilles heel remains qualified, but when it comes to race starts and Sunday performances, he's a decent midfield performer. Stroll was never quite on Sebastian Vettel's pace when the 4-time champion was at his prime. Still, he remains capable of the boring second driver, with significant weekends coming at the Hungaroring and Zandvoort. Next up, Pierre Gasly, 6.36, and Magnussen, 6.55. In 2022, Pierre Gasly finished with only 6 points. AlphaTauri did struggle significantly in comparison to last year. Still, it appeared that Gasly lost his spark towards the season's conclusion, particularly with the announcement that he would join Alpine. In Azerbaijan, he finished 5th. Elsewhere, Magnussen had a fantastic start to the season, with a perfect score at the Bahrain Grand Prix. When Haas was at its most competitive, the Dane excelled. As previously said, Magnussen's performance seemed to deteriorate in the second half of the season, allowing Schumacher to outrun him consistently. Regardless, Magnussen's return after a year away was fantastic. As we progress, we should remember Valtteri Bottas and Alex Albon, who scored 6.68 and 6.95 respectively. Bottas had an excellent start to his career with Alfa Romeo, finishing in the points in in 7 of the first 8 races. Bottas had an average score of 7.85 after the first 7 races. Bottas, on the other hand, fell behind as Alfa Romeo retreated. A teammate, Zhou, also went an incredible stretch without scoring between Canada and Mexico, so his slump wasn't entirely Finn's fault. Similar to his Mercedes career overall, incredible when it clicks, but not nearly often enough. However, Albon's performance in his return to F1 with Williams is worthy of high praise. For George Russell, it was all the rage that the former Red Bull driver completely dominated Nicholas Latifi. At the end of the season, Albon had an average qualifying time of 0.544% faster than Latifi, while Russell averaged a time of 0.432% faster. While it's true that Latifi had a much harder time than Albon did with the Williams of 2018, that fact in no way diminishes Albon's performance. Following that, we have Carlos Sainz, 7.09, and Esteban Ocon, 7.14. Carlos Sainz had an underwhelming year in 2022. Not to mention, he outscored Charles Leclerc in his first year at Ferrari. Sainz battled with the handling of the F175 in the first half of the season, never getting into a fight with Leclerc or Max Verstappen. Once he recovered his form, it was too late, with Ferrari falling back significantly, even under Mercedes on occasion. On his day, he's a formidable driver, but it's still being determined whether he can match Verstappen's or Lewis Hamilton's level of competence and consistency across a complete season. Moving on to Esteban, it was the first time in his F1 career that he outscored a teammate. While it doesn't tell the whole story, considering Fernando Alonso's litany of dependability issues, Ocon had a solid season. He was at his best in Austria and Japan, earning flawless scores. Next up, Sebastian Vettel, 7.15, and Sergio Perez, 7.32. Despite retiring from F1, Vettel experienced a mini renaissance in 2022. Vettel would have finished 6th in our final standings if not for his disastrous Australia weekend. 6 points boosted Aston Martin's surge up the constructors' title finishes in the year's second half. If not for operational failures in the United States and Abu Dhabi, pit stop, and strategy, the team would have defeated Alfa Romeo to 6th, thanks largely to Vettel's brilliance. Sergio Perez is no less than Sebastian Vettel. Perez was more at ease in the RB18 after a difficult first year with Red Bull. He won his maiden pole in Saudi Arabia before earning a spectacular and now contentious victory in Monaco. He quickly reverted to his 2021 form, trying to adjust to Red Bull's development strategy. He found his form again in the second part of the season, with his finest drive coming in Singapore. Moving on, George Russell, 7.50, and Lewis Hamilton, 7.73. Russell's first year at Mercedes-Benz could not have gone any better. He outscored Hamilton, becoming only the 3rd teammate to do so, following Jenson Button, 2011, and Nico Rosberg, 2016. He also won his first race and pole position in Hungary, Brazil. Russell's consistency and racing craft against Verstappen, Spain, and Brazil outstanding are huge pluses. However, it's debatable if he possesses the alien speed of Verstappen, Leclerc, or even Hamilton to lead Mercedes in the future. On the other hand, Hamilton had a year of first in 2022. He had no wins, no pole positions, and finished 6th in the championship for the first time in his F1 career. Was it really so bad? The fact that Hamilton is ranked 6th in our poll shows that final results rarely convey the whole story. Hamilton easily overtook Russell once Mercedes ceased experimenting with his car. While he did not win the race, a mix of terrible luck and poor planning meant it was never a realistic option. Hamilton did not have a vintage year in 2022, but he demonstrated enough to indicate that he is far from gone. Following that, Fernando Alonso, 7.77, and Lando Norris, 7.91. In 2022, Alonso was back to his near-best form, with poor reliability ultimately costing him. He believes his many challenges this year cost him 60 to 70 points, and he's not far off. In Austin, he scored his highest rating of the season, recovering from a terrifying crash with Stroll to finish in the points. Moving on to Norris, he continues to demonstrate why he is one of F1's top drivers, as he did in 2021. 122 points in the 5th fastest car is an outstanding accomplishment. He performs admirably in every qualifying season, making only only a few errors. McLaren has a star on their hands, and they need to give him a car capable of competing at the front as soon as possible. He received a 10 for his podium finish in Imola and starring drive in Austin. As we come to the closure of the video, we have Charles Leclerc, 8.32, and Max Verstappen, 9.00. In our 2022 driver ratings, Leclerc finishes second, the same as in the F1 standings. He received 5 perfect scores throughout the year. Leclerc dominated qualifying, claiming 9 pole positions. Sundays didn't always go as planned for him, but blaming him would be unfair. Instead, blame Ferrari's poor reliability and strategy choices. On the other hand, as his rival, we have Verstappen. His title-winning campaign in 2022 will be remembered as one of the best by an individual driver. The Dutchman had a record-breaking season, winning 15 races, 2 more than Sebastian Vettel, 2013, and Michael Schumacher, 2013, 2003. More impressively, Red Bull didn't have the fastest car until the Belgian Grand Prix, but even then, the title was all but certain. A perfect season. Well, that marks the end of our video for today. We hope you enjoyed it. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching.